to Literature for Lunch. This is an ongoing series that we have here at St. Leo where we bring in literary artists, writers, poets, spoken word artists to share their gifts with our community. So I'm really happy to see such a great turnout, and I know some of you, this is your first time coming to Literature for Lunch. We tend to have 2 or 3 events a year, so I hope you'll keep your eyes out for the next one, which I think will be in April. Anyway, thank you so much for being here. My name is Gianna Russo. I'm an instructor of creative writing and English in the Department of Language Studies and the Arts. So on behalf of our department, we want to welcome all of you here. And we're very excited about our guest today. But before we get to her, just one little note about audience etiquette, and that is that we'd really like for you to silence your cell phones and not use them at all during the performance, but give Aja, our guest, your complete attention, and I think you're going to be very gratified that you did. So it's my pleasure to welcome Aja Monet to us today. She's a wonderful spoken word artist and a wonderful poet. I think the two have a great marriage in her. She has degrees from Sarah Lawrence and also from, she has an MFA from the Institute of Art in Chicago. And what's really impressive to me also is that she is the Grand Slam winner from the New York Poets Cafe in New York. She also is the author of this book, The Black Unicorn, which we have available. So without further ado, I want to welcome our guest, Aja Monet.
When the earth shatters beneath us, and we are broken open, picked apart by the silence, let me tell you, you are unrehearsed laughter sleeping between the murmur of my lips. An unconscious love, a man dipped in midnight lightning. I will fix my body for you and fold in the bend of your arms a tortured jewel. You are a freedom song, humming in the shadow of my soul, a healing heartache that kisses wounds and sets free tornadoes on my spine, such a crippling tongue. My spirit is dancing in the gospel of your chest, and I have found music glowing in the whirlwind of your eyes. May we create new skies to fall apart under together. The sun bent its head on my skin this morning, and I could hear the bones of butterflies creaking in the breeze, the breath of birds heaving into the heart of my ears. My eyes whistled open, the air still smelling of lavender smoke and wet leaves. I turned to you, staring the lids of your jarred pupils, your face. Your face is a naked desert at dawn, an ancient heaven at horizon. Your mouth slightly caved open like an owling cow. I smile, blooming, because somewhere before I remember this silence. You sound of a starving angel when you sleep. You snore like a wailing forest, my love. I think of you like a waking dream, of your spine's grip melted into the sand dunes of my palms last night. Last night, your hands sprinkled across my flesh like rainstorms, and I can feel the sun this morning. He is strong and gleaming. Your eyelashes splinter from the blow of my lips. Rise and shine. So I'm gonna probably speak in a few moments in between poems and talk a little bit about the poem. I never really know what I'm gonna do, so just bear with me. I appreciate your attentiveness and your patience. This is like really better when you guys are responsive. So if you like something, say something, feel something, snap, smile, say ooh, ah, amen, hallelujah, holla back, all that good stuff helps, because I like to know that there are people alive in the room. That would be nice. And I'm not here to lecture to you, so that's, one thing off of the traditional way you experience probably someone standing here. And so, yeah, I guess I want to ask, is St. Leo a religious institution? Yes, I'm assuming. And is it like how religious? Like, do all of you have to sign an oath of Jesus Christ when you come here? And yeah, okay, cool. That's cool. I mean, it's as long as it's open also to other beliefs, right? And faiths and etc. That's awesome. Okay, cool. And how many of you are undergrad? Are you all undergrad? Yeah? Cool. Any of you are grad students? Any grad students? No. Okay, cool. Awesome. All right, I'm learning. Cool. How many of you are from the state of Florida? Most? Okay. Who's not from the state of Florida? Oh, okay, do you want to call out some of the cities? Just say them.
Chicago.
Cool. Woo-hoo. What else? Cleveland. London town. Oh, good. So the next thing I'm going to read is inspired by a very interesting situation in London. What else? Paris. Paris. Oh, je parle français. Je parle français, mais je parle très mal. Okay. Je comprends. Okay. Okay. Well, I lived in Paris for a little while. That's cool. Anyone else? New York? Where? That's what's up. I'm from Brooklyn. What's up, sister? It's good to see you out here. It's tough, Florida. Where else? Who else? No one? That's it? Jamaica. Okay, my family's from Jamaica. I spent not that long there. I went for a summer. But family's from there. That's cool. Okay. Awesome. Irie, we got a lot of vibes. Okay, cool. Anywhere else? Long Island. Okay, what part of Long Island?
Nassau County.
Okay. I like, my mom moved us around everywhere, so we lived basically everywhere. And there was a time where we were in Freeport. And Baldwin, Freeport area. Do you know what that is?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So there's a diverse group of people. Great. Awesome. So then the next poem I'm going to read, I actually was invited. I have some friends in the UK, and I was out there doing a small tour in Europe, and some friends of mine run an organization called the Hip Hop Shakespeare Company. And it's really funny because I've been telling the story, and it gets less funny to myself, but I guess it's sort of funny to other people. But anyway, they asked me to read this piece. They usually do, the whole premise of the organization is to get folks, young people particularly, more engaged in poetry and excited about poetry. So they try to take, hip hop and Shakespeare and bring them and make them really cool for young people to be concerned. And so they asked for an excerpt. They asked me to write a piece inspired by excerpts of Shakespeare, and they gave me different parts. And there was one from Macbeth, which is, if you know Shakespeare, you'll probably know where this is from, but I'm pretty sure none of you know Shakespeare as well as some of these Londoners who do, because it was hilarious. After I read the poem, they were just very enamored with it and proceeded to recite an entire scene of Shakespeare to me. And it was really funny because I realized we obviously in the States are slacking on our poetics. We do not, I don't think any of us have any poems memorized in our heads like that. Do any of you? How many of you have a poem memorized in your head? Okay, 1, nice. 2, oh maybe, that's like a sort of poem. Okay, 3, okay, 4, all right, y'all sort of slowly popping up. Okay, cool. Well, let's just put it this way, it happened to me at least 6 times that night. Somebody came up to me and was like, oh, yes, I love that scene where it's da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, and then they start reciting the entire scene. And I realized that we really have a lot of work to do in America because no one knows poetry like that at all. And it would be awesome if we were all walking around knowing Walt Whitman by heart. I heard you talking about Walt Whitman at some point, or somebody brought him up over here. Yes? Your favorite poet?
Yeah.
Cool. So I guess I say that to encourage you guys to maybe memorize at least one poem if you can. I think it's important, and it just will make us seem like better citizens of the world, at the very least. So Yeah, with that being said, I'm not going to say that when you go to, if you ever get a chance to go to London, that you should assume they all know Shakespeare, but chances are they will recite a full verse for you. So, anyway, this poem is inspired by an excerpt from Macbeth. And how many of you read Shakespeare? Yeah, you had to, right? Mm-hmm. How many of you have read Macbeth? Shakespeare? Okay, cool. So maybe there's a slight chance you might be as advanced as the UK, and you'll know where this came from, and you'll know the whole entire verse as well. And feel free to recite it if you do. No worries, I encourage you. So it goes, yesterday I was a river, in a voice where my grandmother rinsed her feet and cupped water in her hands toward her face, dripping down her chin along the belly. Soft clay between her legs, sculpting my mother a body bathing in daylight, bleeding beautiful. The fish skirt around her calves, dragonflies whisper on her shoulders, the sun sets her skin aflame, and she howls toward the horizon. Tomorrow, tomorrow, tomorrow I will be a torch in my daughter's throat. I will tie her on her tongue and massacre a moon in her mouth to mold a street light from a stream into a star. And she will speak soft as a sword, severing the night, a candle in a cave, a flash in a tunnel that tracks to a train with no stations. A gown of ghosts, beautiful as smoke, the color of the Milky Way, will ballroom dance in the battleship of her beauty, violent as joy. Her laughter will roar of rivers I was. Tomorrow, yesterday, I wrestled with the oars in my chest and hands danced dim in the dawn, a canoe in a creek. I watched my breath glimmer in the blur between the earth and the sky, born in twilight. I was a time between time, when humans owned humans, bones blown in the wind chime. My grandchildren swallow the sound of weeping words and wait for a witness. Tomorrow, tomorrow. Tomorrow I will be a bird in the breeze, and my wings will caw above the heads of all my lovers, breaking beneath my heartbeat. I was a first kiss, lingering on the lower lip. Tomorrow I will be the last. Men will study my jaw and wonder of the way we will the elements with our poems. All our yesterdays had lighted fools, shivering in the sleep of safety, nearly dead, dying. Life was but a walking shadow. I was but a hum. I sung until the darkness vanished and the dreamers won. They woke to an ancient future where magic was wise and slaves unchained. I will shelter the lantern of the living in my eyelids, and the world will be unafraid. Eye contact as portals between then and forever. A creature will crouch in the cry, a canvas in the iris, a pillow where the looking lay, as we rinse the silence from all our sisters. Yesterday I was an explorer, but tomorrow I am the shore, meeting the sand with every tide. The sea returns to me. I am forever in debt to the way of rinsing, how water litters the land. Nothing belongs to me. I merely am. Today, tomorrow, and yesterday. Time is a fleeting fool. Who dares own that which you are? Have you a chain to hold the wind? The world cannot contain my ways. Yesterday I was a poet, but tomorrow I am an MC. A seagull of secondhand verses, writing the blues with rhythms and reason. Still a river, I flow. Tomorrow made me proper. I am the earth babbling to itself, the beat, a heart, an eardrum. I leak music and lay with light. I was the voice repeating the sound of everything there ever was. Yesterday I am everything there ever was. The first spoken word, the groove, the toast tattooed, the lean, the limp, the shimmy, and the sway. I capture movement and rise in a wave. I was forgotten in scripture written by murderous craze. Tomorrow I survived in the telling of a story free long before I was enslaved. Yesterday, Shakespeare mocked the myths of our meaning and wrote it down. I was the bloodshed, the falling. Listen, still I flow, listen, still I flow. A river in a rap, I reason the wrong. It'd be good to have some water. Okay, so.
There's a bottle there.
Yeah, I have it. I just gulped down. So classy of me, classy lady. So, the next poem I'm going to read, I think you never know how people are going to receive anything that you share, which is why I guess you know, poetry is such a complicated art form. It's very, very vulnerable and calls forth an acceptance of at least witnessing that vulnerability, right? I wanted to share a small quote that that would kind of introduce. So Allen Ginsberg. How many of you know who Allen Ginsberg is? Great. If not, you should definitely write him down. He's a beat poet. There's a lot of names I can give you that would be great for you to read, who might speak to you at some point in your lives. Poetry is like the art form that when you first get it, sometimes it might take a little while to like really understand, but the more time you spend with it, it's like amazing. It's kind of like, how many of you have like a favorite love song? Right? You have like at least one or two, a few, maybe even more, right? But like when you first heard that song, you were like, okay, this is a catchy beat, this is a nice groove, like the words are really cool, and it's like, all right, this is cool, like I really love this song, it speaks to me. And then when you're in love, you hear that song again, right? And somehow the song is like, oh my God, I get it. The words are so much, this is my pain, this is my heartache, this is my joy, like you get it, right? It somehow becomes something totally different, right? Or you are a different place to receive or to be open to those words, right? And I think that that's kind of what poetry is. I always say that poetry has you have to come to it as you would sacred text, which is kind of ironic. Well, yeah, saying that here. You have to come to it as you would the Bible, the Torah, the Quran, right? With a certain reverence, a certain openness to it being able to change you, right? Not judging it, but knowing that there's something in there that you could possibly come away with that if you take time with, you can really find a jewel or a nugget or something that is precious that you can carry with you on in life. And sometimes, depending where we are in our lives, when we come to it, we might get something totally different out of it, right? So to be patient with yourself, that typically when poetry is taught, it's not taught with a lot of passion and excitement as anything should be taught, right? So we see it and we think, oh, we don't get it the first time. Like somehow we're the flawed people. But in actuality, it's not that. It's just that you have to take some time with it, and that over time you can really get something that you didn't see the first time, right? So, but anyway, Allen Ginsberg says poetry is not an expression of the party line. It's that time of night, lying in bed, thinking what you really think, making the private world public, and that's what the poet does. And I really feel like that's pretty relevant to some of the stuff that I will share today. And I think that hopefully as I move along through poems, you'll understand that maybe you at some point had laid in bed and thought and felt and went through some of these same emotions or experiences. So the next poem that I'm going to read is a poem that I think is going to be more relevant reading here than anywhere. And I think that's because, one, I'm in Florida, and two, we're at a state of emergency in our country where I think women's right to choose is very critical to talk about. And so with that being said, I thought I would share two poems that are about that are about women's right to choose. And so let's start with the first one. The first one is called The Emerging Woman After Aborting a Girl. 8 a.m. in September, my daughter chose to show up at my doorstep unannounced. Had the nerve to come talk to me about being a mother when I wasn't ready for no giving up my life to mother no ungrateful child. Wasn't in no place to open no doors, to let her see my empty cupboard, to open my empty fridge. I ain't got time to explain to no child why I write poems to relic the ruckus, why I collect Sally Mae letters and bags and post collages on the walls, or why I can't love them the way nobody taught me how, or why my flaws show up in her face, or how my dimples fall deep, deep in her cheekbone. Ain't got the heart to reason with her. My selfish choices are all the ways I couldn't be of sacrifice, couldn't be nobody's Christ. I ain't got enough hours in the day to be somebody's God. And I look at her face. I couldn't bring myself to open the door. I couldn't stand to see her through the peephole. All my life flashed before my eyes, and one day she'll be a woman or not, and have some children of her own or not. She'll understand or not. Not till she does will she know the depth. How we raise our heartaches in our wombs and love the world whole, healing through our hurt, snatching at glimpses of our souls while we offer pieces of flesh to this earth. Nah, there ain't no mother here. You best be on your way. And this next poem is called Daughterhood. There was the child, and then there wasn't. Somebody, not me, somebody close, left. Like small pools of blood, black ships sighing, a heavy cry smothered in the hull, like a secret weeping, a whisper snuffed out, cramped and cornered, gasping for air. Only a wind cannot be kept, the lineage of loss. Somebody like a lightning bug, wandering, bellyless, over fields on fire, flickering of dying sparks, restless with reason, haunted by hormones. Somebody not me. Somebody close went missing. An inner child for lack of purpose or meaning or want or so much need, so close to love. Somebody not me. Somebody brilliant and beautiful. Somebody torn, so tough at wit's end, sobbing to smile. Somebody not me. Somebody close. Somebody real close. Lost a child to raise a mother. So here we go. I'll move on to this poem, which is called, I don't think it really has a title yet. What Becomes? It's pretty short. What becomes of the child born to riot? What becomes of vagina except for a time machine or shrinkage or ship at sea or mother's arms or black hole or strip club or bird's nest or altar or battlefield or that one time I dreamt of God riding 100 miles between highway right thigh and highway left in a dusted gray car, listening to my heartbeat bust through the radio speakers, and the moon hanging cool from his rearview mirror was my soul, was the trinket he only glanced at when looking behind him. And I want to know where they're going when they come, why they pass through this town of all towns, a silly old town that used to be a city of bridges and boroughs and wasted lights, fire hydrants that bathed us in summers, and coffee cups of people rushing through veins. Too many names to remember why I ran towards being nameless and simple, full of secondhand discoveries and well-traveled tales. Why I never passed a homeless man without offering a nickel, if only I had a nickel. And there's nothing but bookstores and kitchens now. I open windows whenever I hear a storm coming and let my hands feel the rain scat about my skin. And if it's warm outside, I run and let the world make me feel small and insignificant while the sky boasts about its broad shoulders. And God will think I have a crush on the sun. All those days I spent bathing in light. So I guess I'll do poems that, I have a lot of poems, can you tell? Probably should, no, I shouldn't do that. Okay, so I'm from Brooklyn, New York. and I thought I would read this poem called Jungle Gym. And then I'll read my other broken poem at the end. In Ashford backyards, hanging clothes on the laundry line, jams spill out the 70s radio from the kitchen windowsill. Swollen mosquito bites and scraped knees, dirty band-aids hang off scrawny elbows. We wash pit bulls with a water hose and shampoo soap suds flood the cracks in the concrete, sun chasing the back of our shoulders. We tan in Newport smoke, sipping on sweaty cups of Pepsi and freezer ice tray cubes. City kids claw toward the earth while adults build more buildings. We ran toward the trees, climbed fences, a marathon to connect to the world. Man-made children with vivid visions empowered by inner rhythm to know the difference between war and love, tolerance and respect. Loyalty was law, Manhattan was the government. I used to think all police officers were born in a jailhouse somewhere in Midtown and that the mayor fetched them on us come morning. We rose and split open skin, cruising the concrete on handlebars, sporting fresh knee scabs. The sidewalk armed with chalk, illustrating inner city blood and laughter. Laughter lived through us. Foul-mouthed knuckleheads, we were careful. We were so careful. We were careful not to die too young. Gap-toothed smiles guarding the graves of our greats. Metropolis moonlight mocks the Hudson River. Apartments turn their igneous light bulbs on. The night blushes sapphire of incandescent stars flickering in buildings and bridges. Many love the mouth, murder secrets there. Words heard throughout the city from the old gunmetal pigeon, hungry and flying over asphalt rivers. Who records the bird's eye, the testament of tenement rooftops, overlooking the millions? This poem is called The First Time. It was posted on PBS NewsHour, Poetry NewsHour, and it's about, for those of us who have had this experience, I think there's moments where you witness someone you love being belittled or disempowered or in some way harmed, and we feel like we can't do anything about it, right? There's those moments where we want to stand out in rage. And shake the other person and be like, do you understand how amazing, how much this person is loved? And sometimes we stand defenseless and we know nothing of what to do in that moment. And this was one of those moments where my brother was, I watched my brother basically be belittled by a cop. And it's a really subtle moment where you just, the levels of violence that happen against Black and brown people in this country are not always just visceral, bloody, death. Sometimes the violence is so subtle, it's so rude, it's so discreet that it hurts us in ways we can't even fully articulate, right? That sometimes we're silenced by the ways in which this violence perpetuates itself in our communities. And so this is one of those moments where, in light of us talking about police brutality in this country, we don't realize that the bullet is not only a bullet from a gun, but sometimes it's words spoken over us, sometimes it's neglect, it's the lack of attention, it's the lack of awareness around issues, that sometimes that is violence, that silence can be another form of violence, right? And so this poem is called The First Time. The first time I hated a cop, he was mouthing off the tongue to my brother about how he ought to show him some respect, carrying on and whatnot, as if my brother didn't have a little sister watching who looked up to him like moonlight and stars on humid nights, those days he led and I followed. And he kept on. He kept on like my brother wasn't a skyscraper or something, like he wasn't the bridge that led to boroughs, like he wasn't my hero, like he wasn't the grandson of a union worker who died building a water tunnel for a couple of knucklehead kids trying to turn fire hydrants into car washes. And I saw how brown and black boys grow into themselves, angry at the world that day, how no matter what a sister did to show her love, she couldn't make a boy no man he wasn't bent on becoming. And even when I thought I was fighting him, I was fighting them. We were always fighting them, all those people out there fighting us, doing everything to remind us of our place. And I couldn't undo all the hate that builds. Watching the men you love cower, kneel, bend to the scowl of overseers, all the bright and magic that dims, the light that lowers, being police for being poor, a shade, a color, too poor, too a shade, too a color, too close, a shade, a color, the color of a beating, being beaten, beating heart. With that being said, I'm going to read this other poem, which is for... There's a lot of poems I have not read. Yeah. I have fragments of things that I think I'll just read in between. They're all part of a working manuscript. And I try not to read stuff that I know you'll see on the interweb sometimes, but sometimes I do because it's different to see it in the flesh. And, you know, I hate stuff that's online. It doesn't fully encapsulate the moment. Okay. I'll go into the say her name piece first, and then I'll go back into some personal pieces. So, I was invited by Eve Ensler, who's an incredible activist and women's rights leader, to do a piece for this event that was in an ode to all these women of color who have also been victimized by police brutality, and how in us not speaking about them, that we're silencing the reality of this also affecting not just men of color, but also the many women in our country. And so this poem is called Say Her Name, which is inspired by the event that was organized to remind us of the names of the women who have been affected, killed, brutalized by police. I am a woman carrying other women in my mouth. Behold a sister, a daughter, a mother, dear friend. Spirits demystified on my tongue, they gather to breathe and exhale a dance with death we know is not the end. All these nameless bodies haunted by pellet wounds in their chests, listen for them in the saying of a name you cannot pronounce. Black and woman is a sort of magic you cannot hashtag, the mere weight of it too vast to be held. We hold ourselves, an inheritance felt between the hips, womb of soft darkness, portal of life. Watch them envy the revolution of our movement. How we break open to give life flow. Why the terror of our tears, the torment of our taste. My rage is righteous. My love is righteous. My name is righteous. Hear what I am not here to say. We too have died. We know we are dying too. I am not here to say, look at me, how I died so brutal a death I deserve a name to fit all the horror in. I am here to tell you how if they mentioned me in their protests and their rallies, they would have to face their role in it too. My beauty too. I have died many times before the blow to the body. I have bled many months before the bullet to the flesh. We know the body is not the end. Call it what you will, but for all the handcuffed wrists of us, the shackled ankles of us, the bend over to make room for you of us, how dare we speak anything less than I love you? We who love just as loudly in the thunderous rain as when the sun shines golden on our skin and the world kisses us unapologetically. We be so beautiful when we be. How you gonna be free without me? Your freedom is tied up in mine. At the nappy edge of my soul singing for all my sisters. Watch them stretch their arms in my voice. How they fly, open-chested toward your ear. Listen for Rakia Boyd, Tanisha Anderson, Yvette Smith, Ayanna Jones, Kayla Moore, Shelley Frey, Miriam Carey, Kendra James, Albertus Ruel, Tarika Wilson, Sharice Francis, Chantel Davis, Davis, Melissa Williams, Darnisha Harris, Michelle Cusseau, Pearlie Golden, Katherine Johnston, Eleanor Bumpers, Natasha McKenna, Shaniqua Proctor, Sandra Bland. We will not vanish. We will not vanish in the bated breath of our brothers. Show me. Show me a man willing to fight beside me, my hand in his, the color of courage. There is no mountaintop worth seeing without us. Meet me in the trenches where we lay our bodies down, in the valley of a voice. Say it. Say her name. Called Survival of the Richest. It's easy to forget the fields of empty American towns, windows of factories caked in unemployment dust, broken into shapes of screams, cold as gray loss. A hunger for work has never been more real than in my generation of purposeless babies, fighting or fleeing, nuzzling on nipples of empty breasts. No one can afford a roof over their head without a two-person wage. At least there's the internet where we imagine other people we can be outside of who we are, complacent, comfortable as our citizens suffer in the middle of marsh meadows, mourning the memory of labor, meaning something to this making of a land. There is no middle class, there is no middle class, there is no middle class anymore, only high or low, or very low, or higher or lower than low. So low you look down, and falling isn't so scary. Close to the ground with the people isn't so bad. You remember you are the ground. You aren't alone. It's a magic. It's magic how low we are. You feel a waiter, a bus driver, a construction worker, a teacher, a conductor, the people that keep these cities running. We live by them. We live by the law of strangers, creating silent deeds, defining the human race, and day by day, we try. We are all children, born of lovers who love their way through the chaos to create balance. We became earth despite the body quaking to birth us. When the laboring was done, we arrived here bloody and toothless, little heart with gun strapped to its waist, loaded with wise words, a tiny voice of carnival music, a phantom fetus, ancient blood flowing through us, antique veins. We came here ready with purpose, ready with perseverance, ready to take on the world, and only realize the world wasn't ready for us. This poem is called Tardiness. Let me see what's going on here with the time. Okay.
Maybe one more, and we'll have time for questions.
Sounds good. Let's see what I should end with. So I started with a love poem. I'm gonna do two more. The one that I'm doing is not as long as you would think, but I'm gonna do two more just because I feel like I want to do the mobile poem, and I want to leave y'all with Brooklyn. So this poem is just to give you a perspective on technology, and then I'll leave you with Brooklyn, and we can end there, and you guys can ask questions or whatever you feel in the mood for. Okay? Sounds good? Great. Okay. So this is for all you cell phone lovers out there. Maybe this will make your conscience feel a little okay. Maybe not. Who could have envisioned a world where our subconscious need to connect would catapult us into a day and age of mimicking collective consciousness, creating gadgets and devices to fold our continents like maps, revolutions are mobilized, picket signs are text message like love letters squeezed and wine bottles and sent off at sea. We photograph moments best kept in photo albums of our memory and upload them into society. They become fragments we share while distance dances between us, telepathy misunderstood. Dear Alexander Graham Bell, Remember when they called you a wizard for the telegraph? Who could have prepared us for video messaging, watching a smile form or an eye tear, listening to laughter unwind in our ears from rooms around the world, children in Dakar with hugs from homes, have cell phones, someone to reach across the country or continent, someone to say, I miss you too, be careful of, remember when, I need you. A soldier watches his son grow through an LCD screen. A friend text messages a smile to brighten the day of a coworker in a cubicle who forgot to send flowers to her grandmother and remind her daughter to lock the bottom lock before school. There's an app for everything. We are telehistorians. In minutes, even seconds, we use our hands still to record and reach for someone not yet there when our bodies would have it otherwise. This is what evolution looks like in the pocket of a hand, mobilizing a movement of the mind. I'm going to just call on you guys, if you have any questions, just think of them and then, yeah, we'll do that. So this is for Brooklyn, and it's changed. I don't know if you guys know anything about gentrification, but it's happening across our great country in many cities, and it's no longer an affordable place to live. So it's strange. I wrote this piece kind of in homage to my town and thinking about that. On the humble, I be having these dreams where I'm people watching with Basquiat sitting on a curb on Bedford Ave, sipping piraguas, talking about never thought I'd live to see the day. Could have sworn I saw Otis Blackwell walking out the corner store on Atlantic Ave, smoking a Lucy, whistling a new tune for Elvis to cover. And it was gully right because I caught Biggie on a stoop in Bed-Stuy selling dope to a hipster with Ready to Die tatted across the peel of his arm. Hadn't seen a hoopty in a while when old dirty bastard pulled up, offering me a ride to the pink houses, and suddenly a handsome mocha man sitting on a nearby fire escape calls my name. I could tell it was Jackie by the Dodger stitched across his chest. He told me, I miss home, and then it all fades to black. When I woke, the blue moon was sprawling out of its hiding place, limbs hanging over the shoulder of night after lovers had abandoned their bodies, laughing in the corners of each other. I was a Fulton lamppost staring at the sky's cheekbone shy of stardust through the blinds of J-train tracks. This is how it feels to dream of being moonlight in East New York. A concrete plant collecting whispers of bodega blues, darling sunrise tickles, drumbeat hips swaying through the air of Sanson. And I envy the morning swag. Boomboxes hold our windows open in July. We face our fears on the cyclone called romance. A stroll along the boardwalk in Coney Island. Head nods pay respect on beat. Boys playing Scully in the street. We used to buy our kicks from City Line and roll a blunt for our fallen soldiers and spark a generation in love with spray cans and naked tenement buildings. Graffiti the spirits of hustlers with bubble letters. Mr. Softy Summers, men stealing Abuela Santo offerings for Tweety Bird on a popsicle stick playing hopscotch on a broken sidewalk, eavesdropping on front stoop gossip, hair braiding, fingers dancing between strands of air. Brothers get caught in gangs, get caught in barbershops, get caught in street corners, get caught, thrown against the hood of cop cars, seen one too many handcuffs on the wrists of brown skin. We dock slave ships on our shores daily. No Rikers Island like a country home. I'm convinced that my father conceived me in Kings County arraignments while daydreaming of freedom. I owe my life. I owe my life to the woman who stopped my mother on the B-56 on her way to the abortion clinic and told her, you have a poet coming. Not everybody's keys, but I appreciate it. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'm totally open to that. Also, if you can't buy books, I don't think there's many books, there's a few. One of the things I ask is that you don't have to support me financially, but if you can spread the word, share my work with someone who does not know about it, that's also a great way to be supportive. Or you come give me a hug, that's another way to be supportive. Or you follow me on Twitter and Instagram, that's another way to be supportive. I'm on all of those things. And then also, I do have bags here that my lovely partner's holding up. And for people who don't like poetry books, but need groceries or things to help carry their books, there you go. There's a little quote of mine on the back, and you can get one of those from him over there. And yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate you. Poetry is a really hard act to get going, so I'm very grateful for you listening.